If there is one game that I'm looking forward to replaying, especially to the lead up to its third and final part, that's got to be Final Fantasy VII Remake on the Nintendo Switch 2. And during Gamescom, it was finally playable. And I want to talk about what impressions we got out of the event, and also when are we actually going to be getting it available on our Switch 2 and on Xbox. So I'm hoping you can join me today for this one. So with that all being said, what is up guys, Jen here, hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the channel. If you like the content, please support the channel and hit the like button. And if you want to stick around for some more Final Fantasy content, you are already in the right place. Just hit that subscribe button. Okay, Final Fantasy VII Remake on Switch 2, and I'll probably allude to the Xbox version as well, because when it comes to the release date, they more than likely are going to be releasing at the same time, and I know a lot of people are going to be like, it's a little too late, and maybe so, but the fact that these are coming out on Xbox and Switch 2 is big. It's going to bring more players to the game, and I think it's perfect marketing for the lead up to part 3, because they want to space it out so new players that are on the Switch, new players that are on Xbox play Remake. They will then probably release Rebirth later on down the line and then get everybody in the same boat for part 3. I think that's what the plan is. But let's talk about the Switch 2 version in particular, because both influencers, content creators and the general public got hands on with Final Fantasy VII Remake on the Switch 2. And before going into this, a lot of people were skeptical. How is this going to run on the Switch 2? Is it going to have a lot of compromises? Is it not going to run very well? Is it going to be the worst version? Is it going to be on par with what the Steam Deck can offer? And looking at it, it's looking great. I'll throw a few clips of people experiencing Final Fantasy VII Remake on Switch 2 and link their respectable channels and outlets down below. But as you can see, it is looking really good. From what people have said, it looks like to be running at 1080p at 30 frames per second for those that are wanting to know, but it looks like it's pretty locked in and very consistent with not a lot of dips, which is great. But I don't think it stops there. I think down the line there will be a performance mode of where we will be able to hit 60 frames per second on the Switch 2, and I'll talk about why I think that is when we talk about the release, because it's kind of linked. But it's looking phenomenal, and it is making me quite excited to dive back into Final Fantasy VII Remake on Switch 2. So I'm wondering if anyone that has a Switch 2 or planning on getting a Switch 2, will you be replaying Final Fantasy VII Remake on Switch 2? Or even if you have an Xbox and have Game Pass or whatever Xbox you may be playing, will you be picking up Final Fantasy VII Remake? Because it's looking really, really good. I'm actually quite surprised. It's been getting really good coverage from Gamescom. It seems like the whole demo was in German. Also, no one could really hear the game sounds, so no one could really give a perspective on that. Also, they were not allowed to dive into the settings, so we don't know if there are other settings available for 7 Remake on the Switch 2, but I think it's necessary to probably have 2 modes if possible, or do something a lot similar like we had with Cyberpunk, which I have played on the Switch 2 and I really enjoy playing it on Switch 2. I'm not really a frame rate guy, so the 40 frames per second that Cyberpunk offers, I would be quite happy if Remake did the same. But I think we need to address an elephant in the room, and I can quite agree with this one. I think to really hit home with Final Fantasy VII Remake coming out on the Switch 2, I think it needs to be on the cartridge to some extent. It needs to have its own cartridge. It can't be a game key card. I think if they could really do that, then go for it. If the game is going to be over 64 gigabytes, you know, try and put as much on a cartridge as possible with a little bit of a download to download the extra. I don't know what people fancy. I'm going to be playing it regardless, but I think if they really want to hit the home run with 7 Remake on the Switch 2, then that needs to happen. But then you look forward towards something like Rebirth, which they seem to be pointing towards as well. But I'm very interested to see the situation when it comes to having a physical cartridge for that, with it being even bigger than Remake, but time will tell. let's talk about the release. And it seems to be slated for this winter, of which is between the beginning of December and the end of March. So when do I think this will come out? Will it hit 2025? I was a firm believer that it was going to hit 2025, but I think with this Gamescom preview, with the first hands-on, they're going to get a lot of feedback. They're going to be reading the internet. They're going to be watching YouTube videos and seeing what everyone's opinion is. And I think they want to take that feedback and then really refine 7 Remake on the Switch 2, which I think is great. Square have been doing this more often. We see it with the Adventures of Elliot. They're taking feedback on that demo. So maybe they could just release a demo on Switch 2 and take feedback on how that's going. So then that leads me to believe that, okay, I don't think it's going to be coming out in 2025, which makes sense. I think it's probably going to come out either at the end of January or the beginning of February, around Valentine's Day, kind of the first quarter of February or late January would be my guess. And I think the perfect opportunity to reveal the release date for this would be the Game Awards. Now, I have a video coming out probably next week talking about the Game Awards again when it comes to the 7 Remake project, and it will kind of interlink with this one, so I'll take this as a small teaser for that video. But I think revealing it and giving it like a month-and-a-half window to get people excited, I think they can do that. You can see when it comes to them hitting multi-platform, like they did with 16, like they've done with Triangle Strategy just recently, that they have either shadow dropped it or they've left a very small window for you to get excited about it. I think revealing it at the Game Awards along with something else will get people hyped and get into that cycle of the Final Fantasy VII Remake project again, myself included. So I think there's much exciting times ahead. I think having it at the beginning of 2026 would be ideal, gives them enough time to refine the feedback that they've got. I suspect to see it at more events going forward, Tokyo Game Show, more hands-on, and again, maybe a demo for the general public to play. But I think they're going to be hitting that early 2026 window. But I'm more interested to see what everyone's thoughts are. Are you even bothered about Remake coming out on Switch 2 and the Xbox? I mean, me being a fan, I want more people to play it. So if that gives the opportunity to do it, more people to talk about with it, more people to interact with when making these kind of videos, I love it. So I really hope that it hits home and everyone gets an opportunity to play 7 Remake, because it's a fantastic game. And I hope that they're ready for Rebirth and then Part 3 in the future. But yeah, things are looking good for Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I'm very excited to see what the future holds. I'll be getting it, and of course I'll be covering it on the channel when the time is right, so expect that. I appreciate your time. Again, get involved in the comment section below. Love to hear your thoughts on all of this and when you think it's coming out. And until next time, I'll catch you on the flip side.